Welcome back to our channel World of Royals. Meghan Markle has been quietly pushed out of the luxury fashion world. Not through rumors, not through public drama, but through silence. Balenciaga, one of the most powerful names in high fashion, has reportedly made a firm decision to distance itself from her completely. No invitations, no front-row seats, no private access, no association at all. No official announcement was needed. In elite fashion circles, messages like this are never delivered with press releases. They are delivered through absence. One season you are welcome. The next season, you simply disappear from the list. Behind the scenes, the reasoning is said to be very direct. Meghan is now viewed as a risk rather than an asset. Not because of her clothing choices. Not because of her personal style. But because wherever she goes, the attention shifts away from the brand and lands entirely on her. Luxury executives reportedly describe it as chaos by association. One appearance from Meghan leads to endless headlines, debates, online backlash, and weeks of reputational noise. And for brands built on exclusivity and control, that kind of unpredictable attention is dangerous. Balenciaga, in particular, is said to be extremely cautious right now. After dealing with its own public controversies in recent years, the company has worked hard to rebuild a stable image. The last thing it wants is another storm it cannot manage. Internally, insiders claim there is even a nickname for the effect Meghan creates. They call it the Meghan Tornado. Wherever it touches down, calm disappears and controversy follows. For a brand trying to carefully protect its reputation, that is simply too big a gamble. This decision did not happen overnight. It followed a pattern of subtle rejections that are now becoming impossible to ignore. First came Dubai, a region that normally welcomes famous Western figures with open arms when it benefits their image. That welcome never arrived. Then came Saudi Arabia, another place known for high-profile global partnerships. Again, no invitations, no collaborations, no public interest. These were not random oversights. In elite circles, silence is a message. Fashion houses pay close attention to those signals. They share information. They compare notes. Publicists, stylists, and brand executives talk constantly behind closed doors. When one major market pulls back, others begin to rethink their own positions. And in Meghan's case, that quiet reassessment has slowly turned into full withdrawal. By the time Paris fashion insiders began discussing the situation, the conclusion had already formed. The balance had shifted. For luxury brands, everything comes down to a simple calculation. Does a public figure bring more benefit than risk? In Meghan's case, more and more decision-makers are deciding the answer is no. Whatever attention she attracts is now seen as outweighed by the complications that follow her. And in the world of high fashion, once that calculation changes, the door rarely opens again. According to people familiar with the situation, Balenciaga's leadership eventually reached a simple and unavoidable conclusion. Meghan no longer adds prestige to the brand. Instead, she brings unpredictability. And unpredictability is something luxury fashion cannot tolerate. High-end labels thrive on control, on carefully planned messaging, on knowing exactly how their image will be presented to the world. Meghan's presence disrupts that balance. With her, nothing stays focused on the product. A single outfit turns into a global debate. A front-row appearance becomes a political statement. One photograph sparks endless arguments online. Instead of the collection being the headline, the brand suddenly becomes a side note in someone else's personal controversy. For a house like Balenciaga, that is unacceptable. And so, the solution was clear. Step back. Create distance. Remove the risk entirely. Then came the incident in Monaco, a moment that quietly confirmed everything. Monaco is not Hollywood. It does not chase attention. It does not indulge drama. It operates on strict social rules and unspoken boundaries. According to multiple retail sources, Meghan recently attempted to visit a Balenciaga boutique inside one of Monaco's most exclusive shopping centers. The expectation, insiders say, was that she would be given private treatment, as someone of her former royal status once would have received. Instead, the response was calm, polite, and final. The brand declined to accommodate her. No private appointment. No special access. No exceptions. Just a simple refusal. On the surface, it may have looked like a small moment. But inside elite fashion circles, it carried enormous meaning. When a luxury house enforces the same boundaries in multiple countries and multiple markets, it is no longer a coincidence. It becomes official policy. Those close to Meghan reportedly say the reaction afterward was intense. Not an explosive public scene, but deep private anger. Because this was not a misunderstanding. It was not a scheduling problem. It was not bad timing. It was confirmation that doors are now closing on purpose. And once those doors shut at the highest levels of fashion, they rarely reopen. This moment is already being described by insiders as the end of a particular era. In the years immediately after leaving royal life, Meghan's visibility was fueled by access. Designers wanted her wearing their clothes. Brands wanted her photographed in their pieces. Invitations arrived easily. The association once carried real value. But that value has steadily faded. What used to look like influence now looks like liability. And in high fashion, perception is everything. Once a figure stops representing glamour and begins representing risk, the industry moves on without hesitation. Loyalty in this world lasts only as long as the benefits do. Right now, the benefits are no longer clear, and the risks have grown too large to ignore. What is happening now reaches far beyond fashion. Entertainment insiders quietly admit that projects once described as promising have slowly faded away. Not cancelled in dramatic fashion, simply left to stall until they disappear. Meetings that were supposed to happen never get scheduled. Calls go unreturned. Emails sit unanswered. The same silent distancing seen in the fashion world is now appearing across multiple industries. No company wants to be the next brand accused of inviting controversy into its orbit. At the same time, legal and financial pressures appear to be growing in the background. Advisors familiar with the situation describe increased scrutiny in the United States that is becoming more serious with every passing month. Questions about compliance are being raised. Organizational structures are being examined. Funding pathways are being reviewed with greater attention than before. Experts who deal with these matters say problems like this rarely arrive with a single dramatic moment. Instead, they build slowly, piece by piece, until suddenly everything tightens at once. This is why some observers have started calling this period the anti-Meghan year. Not because of one major scandal, but because of accumulation. Too many conflicts. Too many strained relationships. Too many institutions deciding quietly and independently that staying connected is no longer worth the trouble. Each small rejection adds to the next one. Each closed door encourages another gatekeeper to step back as well. And beneath all of this, the personal fracture inside Meghan and Harry's partnership is becoming harder to ignore. According to people close to the couple, Prince Harry has begun to create subtle distance. Not with public fights or dramatic statements, but through small, careful changes. Fewer joint appearances. More solo engagements. A noticeable shift in tone and strategy. Those who know him say his priorities have changed. He is no longer chasing headlines or constant visibility. He is trying to protect what remains of his reputation and his future. Harry appears to understand something Meghan does not fully accept. Powerful institutions have long memories, and once trust is broken, it is almost never restored. Attempts to rebuild bridges in the United Kingdom have reportedly gone nowhere. The responses from palace circles remain cool and consistent. From their perspective, decisions were made, lines were crossed, and there is no desire to return to the past. The divide between their approaches is now becoming more obvious with every public appearance. Meghan continues to push forward with a strategy built on visibility and constant attention. She believes relevance can be forced through sheer determination. Harry appears to be moving in the opposite direction. He is choosing caution over confrontation, privacy over publicity, and repair over rebellion. Those close to the couple say this difference in mindset has created real tension behind closed doors. Meghan reportedly wants to fight every battle in public, to challenge critics directly, and to prove she still holds influence. Harry is said to be tired of the constant wars and the never-ending cycle of controversy, has begun to understand that access once lost is almost impossible to regain. The royal family operates on patience and tradition, not on public pressure campaigns. From their point of view, trust was broken too many times. Apologies have not been offered. Boundaries have not been respected. So the answer from London remains exactly the same. This reality is said to be creating deep frustration inside their relationship. Two very different strategies are now colliding. One side wants to push harder and louder. The other wants to slow down and step back. Observers who have watched similar situations say approaches like these cannot exist together forever. The irony of the moment is hard to miss. Meghan rose to global fame through elite systems that opened doors for her. Fashion gave her glamour. Media gave her a platform. Royalty gave her status. Now those same systems are quietly using their real power against her. That power is not loud or emotional. It does not argue or explain. It simply removes access. No red carpets. No front row seats. No private rooms. No special treatment. In elite circles, being absent is worse than being criticized. What makes this moment especially striking is how coordinated the shift appears. No single scandal triggered the change. No one interview or incident can explain it. Instead, different industries have arrived at similar conclusions at almost the same time, and in the world of luxury, decisions are never made out of anger. They are made out of calculation. If Meghan still delivered clear benefits, she would still be welcome. The fact that she is not welcome anymore speaks louder than any official statement ever could. The calculation has become too clear to ignore. The risks are considered too high. The rewards are now too uncertain. Control over the message has slipped away. And for brands built on image and precision, that loss of control is the one thing they cannot accept. Oh, the circle around her continues to grow smaller with each passing month. Allies who once stood close are slowly stepping away. Invitations that used to arrive easily no longer appear. Opportunities that once seemed guaranteed are now quietly given to others. Every industry is watching what happens next with great care. No one wants to make a move that might bring fresh problems into their own world. Silence has become the preferred response. And in circles like these, silence is always intentional. The message being sent is simple and undeniable. Access is fading. Influence is shrinking. And the trend keeps moving in only one direction. Downward. Momentum is clearly shifting away fast. As the year moves forward, the pattern only becomes more visible. Every new month brings another small but meaningful signal that the walls are closing in. Invitations that once arrived without effort now fail to appear. Partnerships that seemed certain fade quietly into the background. Even longtime supporters have begun to lower their public profiles and keep a careful distance. In industries built on image perception and influence, this kind of gradual withdrawal is impossible to miss. The next stage of this process is already becoming clear to those who understand how reputation truly works at the highest levels. First comes hesitation. Then comes polite avoidance. After that comes full separation. No harsh statements are required. No public explanations are needed. The system corrects itself without ever admitting that it has done so. That is how elite circles protect themselves. Public perception has also shifted in a way that is becoming increasingly difficult to reverse. For several years, criticism aimed at Meghan was often dismissed as unfair or politically motivated. Supporters argued that she was being judged by standards applied to no one else. But time has slowly changed that argument. The conversation is no longer about sympathy or benefit of the doubt. It is about results and consequences. Major brands are not activists and they are not therapists. They do not make decisions based on emotion. They make decisions based on profit stability and long-term security. If a public figure helps them grow, they move closer. If that same figure begins to create problems, they move away just as quickly. Loyalty in these spaces lasts only as long as it remains useful. Right now, the evidence suggests that usefulness has faded almost completely. The attention Meghan brings no longer feels glamorous or aspirational. Instead, it feels heavy, complicated, and exhausting for the companies that find themselves connected to her name. That is not a feeling any luxury house wants attached to its products. Quietly and carefully, they are choosing the safer path. The same pattern can be seen in the broader entertainment world as well. Producers and executives are increasingly cautious about projects linked to her brand. What once looked like opportunity now looks like potential difficulty. Risk managers have become louder than publicists. Accountants have more influence than creative teams. In times of uncertainty, companies retreat toward stability rather than controversy. All of this creates a cycle that feeds on itself. The fewer invitations she receives, the more noticeable the absences become. The more noticeable the absences become, the more other organizations hesitate to get involved. Momentum begins to work in reverse. Image slowly turns from asset into obstacle. And once that transformation takes hold, reversing it becomes incredibly difficult. For Meghan, the challenge grows larger with each passing week. The strategy that once opened doors now appears to be closing them. Fighting harder only produces more resistance. Speaking louder only creates greater fatigue. Without a major change in direction, the path ahead looks increasingly narrow and uncertain. The landscape around her continues to shift in ways that cannot be ignored anymore. Institutions prefer calm to conflict and predictability to drama. That preference is now shaping every important decision being made behind closed doors across multiple industries and markets worldwide. The trend remains unmistakably clear today now. Public perception continues to harden as more institutions quietly choose distance over association and caution over risk, while the circle around Meghan Markle grows smaller and the opportunities that once seemed automatic now disappear without explanation or apology from those who once welcomed her so easily into their most exclusive spaces, events, and partnerships worldwide. Each rejection reinforces the next, and every closed door becomes another signal to brands, producers, and executives that stepping back was the safest decision they could possibly make for their own reputations, careers, and financial interests in an increasingly cautious marketplace that rewards stability and punishes unnecessary controversy without hesitation, mercy, or second thoughts. This is how reputational decline truly unfolds in modern culture, not with a single dramatic scandal, but through a slow, steady accumulation of doubts, disappointments, missteps, awkward moments, and professional decisions that gradually reshape the way powerful people see value, influence, credibility, and long-term potential within their carefully protected social and commercial networks industries. For years, defenders insisted that negative coverage was driven mainly by misunderstanding, bias, or unfair scrutiny, but large global companies do not operate on sympathy or emotion. They operate on measurable outcomes, predictable results, and the simple question of whether a partnership makes life easier or more complicated for the people responsible for protecting valuable BY. That standard. The verdict, now forming behind closed doors, appears painfully clear. Association with Meghan no longer delivers calm, reliable attention. Instead, it generates turbulence, arguments, distractions, and endless cycles of online conflict that executives, publicists, and investors would rather avoid in an era filled with economic uncertainty, cultural tension, and political sensitivity. The longer this pattern continues, the harder it becomes for any single interview appearance or charitable gesture to change the narrative, because reputations once fixed in the minds of decision-makers rarely return to their shine, no matter how carefully speeches are delivered or how polished public relations campaigns may attempt to reshape the story. Meanwhile, Harry appears increasingly aware of the narrowing path ahead and seems focused on protecting his remaining relationships, charitable commitments, and personal credibility rather than engaging in battles. He can no longer realistically win against institutions that move slowly, think in decades, and rarely reverse decisions once they have been quietly, firmly, and permanently made. Those who observe the couple closely suggest that this difference in outlook is becoming more pronounced with each passing season. Meghan remains determined to challenge critics and push forward, while Harry appears to be searching for calmer ground and a slower, more cautious version of public life that does not revolve around disputes and headlines. The larger lesson unfolding is that true power in elite circles is expressed not through confrontation but through selective inclusion and deliberate silence. When invitations vanish and phone calls stop being returned, the verdict has already been delivered without a single angry word ever needing to be spoken aloud in any forum, release, or interview. As the months ahead continue to unfold, the direction appears unmistakable: influence shrinking, access narrowing, opportunities fading, and the powerful brand built around Meghan Markle losing the shine that carried it far, fast through worlds of royalty, celebrity, media, and high society. And when that kind of momentum disappears, history suggests it rarely returns home.